RMJ Movie Reviews back again with the continuation of my Arnold-a-thon of Arnold Schwarzenegger in 1987's Predator. Well, guys, I just want to first off say I apologize extremely for being so late with this Arnold-a-thon review. Guys, there's a lot of things that have been going on the past summer, personally, that have just been some really rough stuff that I'm not going to share, but it's been some really rough personal stuff. But, you know, I love old school action movies. I love Arnold, so I'm going to continue with the Arnold-a-thon. So I thank you all for your patience. So, 1987's Predator. Of course, by this time in my childhood, I was an Arnold Schwarzenegger fanatic. Namely, great to the wonderful world of 1980s video stores and cable television. And my older brother, who used to watch all these ultraviolet 80s and late 70s films in front of me. And this first came to Earl's Video Store. And I begged my dad, and of course it had that beautiful, the original poster art for Predator, which has the kind of the like Nintendo-esque looking image of Arnold with the bullseye around him. And my dad let me rent it, and you know, I always liked Predator, but let me preface this by saying Predator was, even in the pinnacle of Arnold, it was not ever one of my favorite Arnold movies from the pinnacle. That's not taking anything away from Predator. I'm just simply saying, for my particular taste, even now and then, Predator was never one of my favorites. But it is very good, and I still very much like it. I mean, I don't even think I need to tell the story of Predator, but I'll do it anyway. Basically, Predator tells the story of an elite group of soldiers led by Arnold Schwarzenegger, who plays Dutch. They have to go into this South American jungle to rescue some U.S. hostages that were kidnapped in some sort of mission over the border. And I think it is South American. They all look South American. But anyway, they go over there, and at the same time, there's an alien hunter that's on the loose. And they clash, and they try to escape this catastrophe of a situation. First of all, it's directed by John Mctiernan, who a year after this directed the great Die Hard. John Mctiernan has always been a fantastic action director. He's just a magnificent director, period. He's very good at directing actors. I always find the way he directs, just the acting of his actors, very convincing. He puts action together well on screen. He puts scenes together very well. He's an excellent director. I'm not going to get into the whole thing with him going to jail and all that, but I really wish that, you know, if there's one director that I wish would come out of retirement, out of the old school guys like George Miller did the Mad Max Fury Road, John Mctiernan, you know, I'd really like to see him come back and do an old school action film like this. That'll probably never happen, but, you know, say if Chad Chorowski didn't want to do a John Wick 4, John Mctiernan would be the perfect choice to do it. But anyway, he just directs this movie with such assured finesse and craft. The score for the film, oh my gracious, by the great Alan Silvestri. Man, what I love about the score for this movie is he really layers it with kind of different instruments that sound very, I'll use the word tribal, and it really puts you as if you're in the jungle. But it also uses very old school Dirty Dozen-esque, like a soldier's theme. It sounds very like soldier-esque, and something you would have seen in those older movies, The Great Escape or something like that. And what's also really cool about Predator is although Arnold Schwarzenegger's name is all over the posters, this, basically 80% of this is a man on a mission movie. like I said, The Dirty Dozen, The Great Escape, The Wild Bunch. It's basically that set to the 1980s, and you got the array of badasses. Come on, you got Sonny Landman, Bill Duke, Jesse Ventura, Shane Black, who's a fantastic writer, Richard Chavez, who was on the very underrated late 80s, early 90s TV show War of the Worlds, about creepy show. Those of us who grew up on that show is really creepy and cheesy looking, but it still has some creepy stuff in it. Who else am I missing from the group? I think I nailed everybody who was... Oh, sorry, Carl Weathers, Action Jackson himself. I mean, just an array of badasses in one unit. And then you got Arnold Schwarzenegger to lead. Trivia fact, I did not realize... Well, Jesse Ventura, I found out later on, was actually a Navy SEAL. I did not realize that Richard Chavez was actually a Vietnam veteran. It always made me wonder how... I know a lot of the veterans... you know, who actually saw all the horrific things of Vietnam. I always just wondered how they actually reacted to being in these situations with explosions and guns and stuff. And I understand it's not real, but I wonder how that emotionally felt to Jesse Ventura and Richard Chavez. But, you know, probably for them, it was probably just like, you know, whatever. I know, I'm digressing again. Jesse Ventura made a particular comment about not Richard Chavez, but everybody else, all the actors, and said, he said I wouldn't want to go into combat with them for real, but I'll go into combat with them in a movie. And I think it got back to Sonny Landman, which he kind of did not really appreciate that comment, it appeared. And apparently Sonny Landman was really a trip in real life. He was a wild guy. Rest in peace, Sonny Landman. But just the array, and of course this is a Joel Silver production, so that's why you have all the arrays of badasses from 48 Hours to Commando all brought into this. The only person they were missing was David Patrick Kelly, but you know, he wouldn't have been able to play a bad guy. He's not very suited for good guys, at least until later on in his career when he got older. But that was just an excellent team of actors to put together for this team, and then have Arnold, the ultimate, you know, tough guy of 80s action cinema, to be the lead. It's just fantastic. And then to have his direct counterpart be Carl Weathers. And Carl Weathers was really, I think Carl Weathers was, at least physically, I think he was at his biggest here. Or maybe he might have been Action Jackson a little later, but he was pretty swole in this, man. He was in fantastic shape. And the banter, the direct banter and chemistry between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers is very good. One thing I might add, Arnold Schwarzenegger's acting in Predator is really good. He's actually very, very good in here, and I think he's very nuanced in the beginning of the movie. Of course, the film is sprinkled with the traditional Schwarzenegger one-liners, you know, stabs the guy into the pole, stick around, he kicks the door in, knock, knock, you're one ugly MF. Classic. Well, I think out of all, I think you're one ugly MF. That's a great one, but I think I might have to say Stick Around gets it by a smudge more. Stick Around is pretty freaking hilarious. Just the fact that he throws it into the guy and pins him up against the wall and goes in that tight close-up, Stick Around. It's so funny. And then Shane Black with his cheesy one-liners of, you know, geez, you got a big, geez, you got a, and it's the jokes are not funny, but that's the joke. You know, when I saw this when I was a kid, I was just like, I took it literally like, that's not funny. And I love Sonny Landman's like delayed reaction, like, it's so funny, man. And Sonny Landman, you know, just a great presence on film. He's basically playing the soldier version of his character he played in 48 Hours, except that movie he was a convict, but he's essentially the same character, just a soldier here. Let's tap on the Predator. Oh, I'm sorry, back to the Dirty Dozen thing. Anyway, 80% of the movie is a man on a mission movie, and then basically the last, the third act becomes an Arnold, just a strictly Arnold movie. And that's always been my favorite part of Predator, is when it comes to Arnold versus the Predator man to man. Basically, Arnold is the alpha guy of the group, and the Predator basically is like, okay, you're in my league, I'm a hunter, you're a soldier, let's do this man to man, fist to fist. And when Arnold starts putting on the war paint like the mud, because the Predator uses, that's another cool thing, the special effect at the time was very unique for the Predator. He uses body heat of the human beings to find out where they at, the body heat of any kind of breathing creature, to find them, and he camouflages himself like with these kind of three-dimensional image to blend in with the background, so he's a chameleon. Cool stuff. His advanced weaponry, which we saw, he's got much more cool weapons in Predator 2, which I do think is good and underrated. I'm not going to talk about Predator 2 now, but I do love Predator 2, and it is underrated and underappreciated. Came out at the wrong time of the year, December. Why? But anyway, that's my favorite. That's always been my favorite part of the movie, is when Arnold starts creating weapons out the land in the war paint, and he goes man to man, and he uses his brains and his wit to go against the Predator. I just always thought that was the best part of the movie. And the actual look of the Predator herself by Stan Winston, who did all the special effects, Aliens, the Monster Squad, this one, and Predator 2, and a slew of other films that Stan Winston did fantastic practical work on. I think he did the work on The Relic too, for Cthulhu, whatever that creature was. I think he did. Somebody can put in the comment section if he did or not. But and the interesting thing was, that wasn't the final look of the creature. The look of the creature that they had when Trivia, Jean-Claude Van Damme, was playing the Predator, I just don't even know how they even thought that. I don't know how they thought that was going to work, because that looked like some Power Rangers type stuff. It was awful. It was so awful. And I'm glad the universe worked out that Jean-Claude quit, and we got a much better Predator with Kevin Peter Hall. Rest in peace. And I love how, I know there was a lot of things where people were offended because it has a Jamaican-esque look to it with the I'm not going to use dreadlocks, I guess that's offensive, with the locks. And, you know, I don't know, I just thought it was a unique way to make an alien creature look. And I just am fascinated by the idea of this alien that comes to Earth to hunt. And, you know, when he finds the toughest, baddest of the crew, you know, he basically says, okay, you earn my respect. I throw my weapons down. You throw your weapons down. Let's go mano a mano. I think that's just really a cool idea. This is, and also, too, what I love about Predator is that it's simple. It's really simple. It does not, this just goes back to, you don't have to create things that are overly complex. It is simple. It is easy to follow. It's very well done technically. And also, one of the things I go back to again, practical action in camera. John McTiernan was very good at making very impactful, brutal, bloody action. And he doesn't linger on it too long. But a lot of the kill scenes, which basically a lot of this plays out somewhat like a slasher film with the Predator knocking everybody off one by one. A lot of the Predator's kill moments very much, they have great impact, man. Like, just like in Die Hard, when Hans Gruber killed Takagi, the owner of the Japanese company, when that moment is like, whoa, that's Predator has multiple moments like that. And John McTiernan was always very good at that. Just when you just viscerally feel the violence. I think in particular, I remember there were quite a few shocking moments when I saw this when I was a kid, but and I think they still play pretty shocking. I think one of the ones that really got me when I was a kid was Arnold Schwarzenegger's boy from Conan the Barbarian, whatever his name is, who played James Earl Jones' sidekick with the big hammer. When he shoots the U.S. guy point blank in the head, that really was impactful when I was a kid. You can kind of see the goof in the effect now, because you're watching it on DVD, but I'm telling you, seeing it on VHS tape back in the day, I was too young to have seen it theatrically. But it really was pretty impactful. And all the kills in this. And John McTiernan does that very, very, very well. I'm not going to digress too far, because I was going to talk about Die Hard with Vengeance, but I don't need to do that. But, you know, Predator is a classic. Again, not one of my favorite out the pinnacle of Arnold's, but still a very, very, very solid movie. The third act is really just the best part of the entire movie for me. And I think the brilliance of this is that this is a sci-fi alien creature with a 1980s shoot 'em up blended together. And I thought it blended very well, very creatively. And it's a classic, man. It's a classic, man. I've always loved Predator. So that is my review of 1987's Predator. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, leave comments down below about Predator and your thoughts on the film. You can even leave some stuff about Predator 2 if you want. If you want to talk about Predators or the Predator or Alien vs. Predator, you can if you want. I'll talk about that later. Don't forget to hit the little bell, and I will be back on my Arnold-a-thon with my review of The Running Man. RMJ Movie Reviews. I will see you soon.